and the forecast calls for pain. The forecast calls for pain.
Hello again, poker players. This is Steve Subready, and I have a tournament hand for you today. This time, it's a $100 WSOP circuit event on the WSOP.com online site. The key question in this hand is whether we should value bet on the river after the villain has shown weakness. Let's get the hand started. We are not close to the bubble in this event, so ICM has only a small impact on our decisions today. But as always, bell curve considerations are important. So it folds around to the small blind, who limps. Now it's on us in the big blind with Queen 10 offsuit. What should we be doing here? I have a 30 big blind stack with 40-point hand, which is 24 points for the queen, 10 points for the 10, and 6 points for the one gapper. This is summarized in this box. We can't open from the big blind, but let's suppose the small blind had opened, and then his position index would be 28 points. So if he had opened, we could 3-bet with an index of 28 plus 9, or 37 points. Since our hand is better than that, and since the small blind only limped, we can probably raise here. But checking behind also has some merit since the villain has recovered. GTO Wizard has this as a mixed strategy: raise small about 25% of the time, or check behind about 75% of the time. Both of these actions have the same EV of 2.2 big blinds, but considering our relatively weak opponent and the principle of bell curving, we should probably raise. I would guess that we can't really make much of a mistake either way, though. Nevertheless, I check behind, and we see a flop of Queen 9 5, all diamonds. The small blind checks, and the action is on us. What should we do? I have flop top pair and a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. The villain has checked, which indicates some weakness, and I don't think I would like another diamond here. So I think I should bet. My default bet size would be half pot. GTO Wizard has this as a mixed strategy with checking 59% of the time and betting 41% of the time when facing a GTO strong villain. I suspect this would shift towards more raising when we are facing a weak villain, and the principle of tournament bell curving should also shift us towards a raise. But again, we probably can't make a big mistake either way. I bet 900 chips, which is half pot, and the villain calls. The turn is a 5 of hearts, which pairs the board. The villain checks again. What should we do now? The paired board gives me 2 pairs, but the villain might have a 5, since he could have completed with nearly any 2 cards. But he checks again, something he would unlikely be doing with trips. So I am likely ahead, but can I get called by enough worse hands if I bet here? Can I bet for value? Surely a flush draw would call a reasonable bet here, and I wouldn't want to give a flush draw a free card. A 9 might call again, and some worse queens. I think betting again is the best play, even if its value is mostly in widening my tournament bell curve. And GTO Wizard agrees with me, preferring a bet to a check 96% of the time. But if you look, the EV of checking behind is only 0.01 big blinds worse than betting medium, which is less than a 1% error, and that only against Mr. GTO. I still think betting is still the best course in the real game. So I bet 1,800 chips, which is half pot again, and the villain called. The river is the king of diamonds, giving me the third nut flush. The villain checks. What should we do now? I'm beaten by an ace or jack of diamonds, but would the villain check those hands? Can I bet for value here? How many worse hands would call another bet? Would an 8 or a 7 of diamonds call? Would a single pair or even 2 pair call? I don't think I have a value bet here, so I should just check behind. GTO Wizard, however, disagrees with my action. It has this as a pure strategy bet. We can see that checking behind is nearly half a big blind less profitable than betting, which is about 3.5% error. I suspect that the area of checking is even greater than that against a weak villain. So I check behind, and the villain shows ace-jack offsuit with the jack of diamonds. This is a very strong hand to limp with. It's also a very strong hand to check on the river. In fact, GTO Wizard has him making the correct decision until the river. On the river, he had a 100% pure strategy bet, as you can see in this panel here. However, checking at 15.45 big blinds is just 3/100ths of a big blind less profitable than betting would be. So even though GTO Wizard has it as a mistake, it's certainly not a very big mistake. In any case, the villain wins the 7,200 chip pot. There are several important lessons we can learn from today's hand. First, GTO recommendations are often close decisions, even when the solver claims a particular situation is a pure strategy decision. And the second place action is often nearly as good. And those second place mistakes are often minuscule, especially when we consider that we are not playing GTO strong opponents. When it's a close decision, the more aggressive action is often better because it can induce a mistake in a non-GTO villain, and because it widens our tournament bell curve. If you don't understand the tournament bell curve, you should watch my video on the subject. And finally, I think I made some mistakes here, but it helped me lose the minimum. It's often useful to review our hands in order to improve. I hope you enjoyed the hand. That's all, folks.